Yo, what is up, guys? Mike Thomas, aka the Young Trishula here, and I am back today with another video here on the Caster's Corner channel, and I've got something kind of interesting for you guys. So, if you were watching the Every Deck stream after the last premiere, which you totally should, by the way, you might have heard me talk about a little combo that we have access to now in Firestorm, which is that Hestia's Hearth and Ash Rabbit form an infinite value generating loop. And this caused quite a bit of a stir. When I said this, a lot of people, both in the chat and in the comments, have been saying, well, what are you talking about, Trish? That doesn't cause an infinite loop. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah, 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 blah. This, if anything, this goes negative in economy. And I think it's a little bit easier just to show you guys how this creates an infinite value loop, rather than explain it, because clearly when I explain it, it's not clear. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how you create infinite value using both Ash Rabbit and Hestia's Hearth, and hopefully this will help you guys think about how you can get maximum value out of your spirits when you see interactions like this occur in the game of Alestrals. I think it's a really, really cool thing. So let's hop into it. But before we do, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's YouTube. You know what to do. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Anyway, we're here into the video. Wow. Oh my God. It's so crazy. We have Ash Rabbit, Hestia's Hearth, and Vapyro. These are the only cards that you need in order to win the game, or at least create infinite value, which, you know, in my mind, that's winning the game. If I've created infinite resources, I think I've won the game. But I do have to preface something. These are the only cards that you need in order to do the combo. However, a postulate to this theorem, a postulate or a key piece of setup that we need is that we need at least 2 cards in our underworld that we can guarantee our opponent will not give to us. Because, as you recall, Ash Rabbit does give your opponent agency. They are allowed to break out of this loop at any point. But the theory states, the postulate, the core thing that we're working with here, is that if your opponent chooses to give you any other card than the Hestia's Hearth, which is the card that allows this loop to continue, then they lose the game anyway. So for this example, I've chosen Ambrosia just as the card to say, okay, the opponent's never going to give us Ambrosia. But, you know, you can, if it helps your understanding, you can also think of the Ambrosias as cards like Eruption. Say that if they give you Eruption, you just burn them and you win the game that way. You know, like, say they're low enough to where a single Eruption will win the game. Or something like Kinleo. Say you have Kinleo in your underworlds, and, you know, your opponent's not going to give you the Kinleos, because if they do, you're just going to cast the Kinleo. You're going to re-trigger the rabbit anyway, kind of making it a moot point to give you the Kinleo, and you're going to destroy their Alestral. So it could be really anything in your underworld that you know for a fact your opponent is not going to give to you. They can't give it to you, because if they give you that card, they're going to lose the game. So they're forced to stay in the loop, which is good, because if they break out of the loop at any point, well, the postulate states you won the game. Congratulations. They gave you the card that loses them the game. So that's the setup. Of course, I could come here and say, oh, well, yeah, if you have 3 Hestia's Hearth in your graveyard, you always pick Hestia's Hearth and you get the loop that way. But for the sake of the conversation, the realistic application of this is that you have cards in your underworld that are so devastating for your opponent to give to you, they have to keep you in this loop. And that's why this is a contained 2-card loop. So we're going to begin with our humble Ash Rabbit, our Hestia's Hearth, and 1 copy of Vapyro. Just to explain the point to you guys fully, you do not need any other spirits in your spirit deck. You just need 1 Vapyro. That's it. That's it. So I'm just going to play this as if this is my last spirit. This is my final stand. So I'm going to begin by casting our brave hero, our Ash Rabbit. And Ash Rabbit is going to target not these Ambrosias. Why would I not cast Ambrosia in a realistic game? Well, I have to sack my Ash Rabbit. But all we really need to do is target 3 Vapyro. Now, this might seem familiar to you, because I've done this before, I've done this on stream. If you've watched some of the Alestral Premiere streams, I did something like this to Soren Plays in our feature match using Ash Rabbit. Now, this was, of course, in Moonrise before Hestia's Hearth was out, but this is kind of like a advanced version of the same loop that I did on that stream. And to show you guys how powerful this loop is, Hestia's Hearth makes this really strong. So now we have, of course, healed 1 spirit. So we still have our Ash Rabbit, our Hestia's Hearth, our 1 spirit, and we have a 1 singular Vapyro underneath this Ash Rabbit. So you might already kind of see where this is going. We're going to next play our Hestia's Hearth face down, and we're going to wait for our opponent's turn. On the opponent's turn, we're going to activate Hestia's Hearth, and we're going to pay for it using the spirit on the board. We're going to use that spirit from underneath the Ash Rabbit, and we are going to we're going to enchant from the Underworld to our Ash Rabbit. And that's going to be the Hestia's Hearth resolved. And you might think, well, okay, this just did nothing. You know, you just burned yourself for a Hestia's Hearth. Well, we're going to remember that Ash Rabbit triggers. Ash Rabbit is now going to be able to target Hestia's Hearth again, as well as the 2 cards that, for the purpose of this game state, our opponent's not allowed to give us. So we're going to say the Ambrosias in this case. So we're going to end up with our Hestia's Hearth again. We're going to draw for turn. Now, of course, you can say, oh, okay, that's where you get the value from. You draw a card every turn. Well, no, we're going to draw this card no matter what. So this isn't value. You know, this is a card that we're getting all the time. So, but I'm just putting this here to demonstrate to you guys that it's now our next turn. So now we're going to once again enchant our Ash Rabbit with Vapiro, and we're once again going to just target 3 Lonesome Vapiros. We're just going to get a Vapiro back. Seems really bad, right? Like really innocuous. We're not doing anything crazy. We're just healing 1 spirit a turn. That doesn't do anything. But now you might be able to see how this loop is starting to form. We began with 1 spirit in our spirit deck, Hestia's Hearth, and an Ash Rabbit in our hand. Now we have an Ash Rabbit on our board with 2 spirits underneath it, as well as our Hestia's Hearth and 1 spirit. We've gained 2 spirits somewhere. Well, surely we didn't gain any spirits. This doesn't gain spirits. This is a net neutral combo or a net negative combo. Let's just set this again and see what happens. Okay, so now it's our opponent's turn again. We're going to cast Hestia's Hearth once again off the Ash Rabbit, and we're going to re-enchant a Vapiro to our Ash Rabbit. We've lost our Hestia's Hearth. Oh no. Our Ash Rabbit's going to trigger. It's going to target the card they're not allowed to give us, as well as our Hestia's Hearth. We're going to get Hestia's Hearth back because they have to give it to us. And, okay. I feel like all we've done is moved Hestia's Hearth from board to hand. Okay, we're going to draw for turn. We're going to re-enchant our Ash Rabbit. And we're just going to heal our Vapiros again. And then we're going to set Hestia's Hearth again. And then we're going to do it again. And you see how we can just keep doing this loop over and over and over again. And we're always going to be re-enchanting on the opponent's turn, getting the Hestia's Hearth back to hand, and then we can, of course, just continue healing on our turn. And slowly but surely, we're generating infinite value. And now you can already do this with just this Ash Rabbit, but it is a slower loop. And there's no eventual payoff. But here's the thing, here's where it gets crazy, right? So now, we've done this loop. So we now have our 3-spirit Ash Rabbit, we have our Hestia's Hearth, and we have our Vapiro. Well, now we can re-enchant, and now let's say we don't want to heal a Vapiro. Now we can forcibly take any card that we want from our Underworld. So, in this case, it was Ambrosia. So now we take Ambrosia. Now we're going to play that Ambrosia for free. And we're going to heal 3 spirits. But wait, we still have Hestia's Hearth. So now we can once again set Hestia's Hearth, re-enchant, as well as, so we're able, hold on. So we now have our Ash Rabbit again. We have our Hestia's Hearth. We're able to pay for the Hestia's Hearth off of the Ash Rabbit, enchant 1 again from the Underworld, and then we get our Hestia's Hearth back. But then on the following turn, instead of healing for 1 spirit, we can re-enchant and then target our Ambrosias again. We get our Ambrosia again. Now we play our Ambrosia. And now we heal for 5. And now you're able to do this infinitely forever, right? You're able to just continuously take and heal. And how this is different than Ash Rabbit performed before, because you could always just go Ash Rabbit and then just target 3 Vapiros, heal a Vapiro every turn. You could do that, but it's a lot slower doing it that way. With the Hestia's Hearth, you can now do this every turn and generate a card. And what's interesting is, let's say we finally are ready to break out of the loop. So let's say, you know, how much have we healed? We've healed like 5, right? We have our Hestia's Hearth. Now on the opponent's turn, let's say we're done with the loop. We've healed our 5 spirits. We don't want them anymore. We can now say, activate this Hestia's Hearth. We can pay off. We can re-enchant. And instead of targeting the Hestia's Hearth, we can grab 3 Ambrosia. Now we have an Ambrosia. And now, when it comes around to our turn, we draw again. And now we can Ambrosia. We can heal for another 3 spirits. And then we can Ash Rabbit again. Target the 3 Ambrosias, get Ambrosia again, and play Ambrosia again, all in the same turn. So we're going to get 3 more Vapiros. And now, where this little loop began, we have recovered 3, 6, 9, 10 spirits over the course of just a few turns. And you can keep this loop going as long as you want and just keep it going. But the important thing to realize here is that when you have this Hestia's Hearth, you can infinitely trigger and re-trigger this rabbit over and over and over again without ever losing the Hestia's Hearth or the rabbit. And what that eventually will allow you to do is give you a turn where you can forcibly take anything from your underworld. Anything that you need, you can forcibly take and then use immediately, because you're triggering the Hestia's Hearth on the opponent's turn. So like, let's say that these were Kinleos, you know, now we can go Hestia's Hearth, you know, use the Hestia's Hearth. We would re-enchant it from the underworld. Let's just say that was in the underworld. And then you can take, say there were 3 Kinleos, you guarantee that you get the Kinleo now. Now you get to play your Kinleo. And let's say, I don't know, like, let's say we have Hephaestus. Let's say this is Hephaestus now. We've done the loop long enough, we have Hephaestus. Now you can Nexus. You get to pop a guy. And then you can still target the cards that were causing the loop to occur, get back your Hestia's Hearth, and retain the loop and keep yourself going in this infinite little circle. And you can go on the opponent's turn. Effect of Hestia's Hearth. Now you can re-enchant to the Kinleo if you wanted to, for example. Now it's our turn again. The Kinleo moves over to the rabbit. We target the cards that cause the loop to occur. We get the Hestia's Hearth. And because we haven't performed an action, these are all just actions that have occurred for free. Now we can re-enchant the rabbit again. And oh look, let's target our 3 friendly Vapiros. We heal our Vapiros. We set our Hestia's Hearth. Okay, it's the opponent's turn again. We'll play the Hestia's Hearth off the rabbit. I've run out of Vapiros in the underworld. We've been doing it too much. So we'll re-enchant from the underworld. We'll target the cards that cause the loop. Or we can re-enchant to the Kinleo. Sorry, let's re-enchant to the Kinleo. We're doing it this way now. You know, we don't target anything. Now it's our turn again. We draw another card. We go Kinleo. We target the cards that cause the loop, right? We target these cards. And then we can re-enchant. And then you get an Ambrosia. And then you play the cards. You know, you just go in. Like, you slowly, it's slow is the point that I'm making. It's slow. But over time, you're able to generate all this card advantage that is really strong. And the fact that the Hestia's Hearth allows you to do this on both your turn and the opponent's turn allows this to be a more tangible benefit than using your game action every turn to just re-enchant an Ash Rabbit and then just heal 3 Vapiro. Because you could always do that. But now with the Hestia's Hearth, you can heal on your turn, generate a card on their turn, and then do that over and over again until you're in a board state to where you don't have to regenerate the Hestia's Hearth immediately, generate a different card, and then on your turn again, then you generate the Hestia's Hearth again. And you can just do that loop over and over and over again. So hopefully this has become clear how this Ash Rabbit Hestia's Hearth combo works, and how you can use this and make your opponent's choices work for you, if that makes sense. You can use your opponent's desire to not lose the game to give yourself an infinite combo, an infinite loop, or to put your opponent in a position where they lose the game. So it's really cool, really fun. Is it competitive? Probably not, but it's something to keep in your mind if you want to play Hestia's Hearth, because I do think that this is the best use case for Hestia's Hearth in the current game of Westeros. So hopefully this has been informative. Drop a like if it was, and I'll see you guys in the next premiere.